I should have known better than to bet against my own curiosity. Spending the night in an abandoned carnival in New Orleans was my idea of an adrenaline rush. But the moment I stepped through the rusted gates, an unsettling silence wrapped around me like a shroud. The air smelled of damp wood and faded memories, and the faintest scent of caramel lingered, a ghost of what once was. The carnival was exactly how people described it, a forgotten dream, left to rot in the Louisiana heat. Peeling paint flaked off the towering Ferris wheel, and the faded banners hanging limp on frayed ropes told a time when this place pulsed with life. My flashlight beam sliced through the darkness, illuminating empty stalls with disheveled prizes still clinging to their hooks. Then I heard it, the faint, eerie tinkle of carousel music. The sound sent chills racing down my spine. It came from deeper within the carnival grounds, drawing me like a moth to a flame. I approached cautiously, my footsteps crunching on debris-strewn concrete. The carousel stood there, majestic yet menacing, its ornate horses frozen mid-gallop. The music box in its center turned on its own, though the power had long since been cut. A sudden movement caught my eye. I froze. That's when I saw her. She shimmered faintly under the pale light of the moon, her form ethereal yet heartbreakingly real. A woman in a flowing, tattered dress sat on one of the carousel horses, her head bowed. She looked up slowly, her tear-streaked face hauntingly beautiful. "Who are you?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Margot," she whispered, her voice echoing in emptiness. "Once, I was a star of this carnival, a trapeze artist, until jealousy turned my dreams into my doom." Her words hung heavy in the air, each one laced with sorrow. She began to recount her story, her ghostly presence drawing me into her world. Margot had been an unparalleled talent, defying gravity and enchanting crowds with her aerial grace. But her brilliance had come at a cost. One night, her rope had snapped during a performance, sending her plummeting to her death. The official report labeled it an accident, but Margot knew better. "It wasn't an accident," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "Someone tampered with my rope, a rival performer, desperate to steal my spotlight. She got away with it. They all forgot me." As she spoke, I felt an inexplicable pull to dig deeper. Her pain was too palpable to ignore. She begged me to help her. "Find my truth," she implored, her form flickering. "My story is hidden here, buried where they thought no one would look." I nodded, though dread twisted in my gut. Something told me I wasn't leaving this carnival without uncovering her secrets. Guided by Margot's fragmented memories, I stumbled upon a forgotten locker near the performers' quarters. The metal door creaked open to reveal a dusty diary bound in cracked leather. Margot's name was scrawled across the cover, her handwriting elegant and deliberate. The diary was a time capsule of her life, her joys, her fears, and finally, her suspicions. She had detailed the tension between her and her rival, notes about frayed ropes and ominous warnings she had ignored. As I read, a wave of nausea hit me. This wasn't just a ghost story. It was a cold-blooded murder. I couldn't ignore the evidence. Margot's spirit lingered because her truth had been silenced. I felt a responsibility to set things right. The next day, I took the diary to a local historian, a woman named Evelyn who specialized in New Orleans folklore. She was skeptical at first, but as she flipped through the diary, her expression shifted from doubt to astonishment. "This changes everything," Evelyn murmured. "Margot's name has been dragged to the mud for decades. If this is true, people need to know." Evelyn took the diary to her contacts in the Historical Society, and soon Margot's story was making headlines. The jealous rival's name, buried deep in forgotten records, was unearthed and exposed, though the rival had long since passed. The revelation sent ripples through the community. The abandoned carnival was no longer just a derelict landmark. It became a symbol of justice. A group of investors turned it into a museum honoring performers like Margot, preserving their legacy. On the day of the museum's grand opening, I returned to the site, now transformed. Lights adorned the Ferris wheel, music filled the air, and Margot's name was displayed prominently at the entrance. A portrait of her, painted from an old photograph found in the diary, hung in the main hall. As I stood there, a sense of peace washed over me. I felt her presence one last time, a faint warmth on the breeze, A whisper of thanks. I smiled, knowing that Margot's story had finally been told, and though the carnival was no longer abandoned, it would always hold a part of me, just as I held a part of Margot's ghostly, resilient spirit. I stood at the edge of the stage, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for since I first set foot in Cherrywood High. Auditions for the spring play were underway, and I was determined to land a role. The auditorium buzzed with energy as students rehearsed their lines or whispered nervously in small groups. But beneath the excitement, there was something unsettling about this stage. Everyone at Cherrywood knew the story. Years ago, during a performance of The Midnight Rose, a girl named Lily had fallen from the platform above and died. Some said it was an accident. Others whispered that it was something darker. At first, I brushed off the rumors as nothing more than exaggerated high school lore. That was until I stepped onto the stage for my audition. The air felt heavy, as if the room itself was holding its breath. The lights flickered faintly, but just enough to make me hesitate. I stumbled over my first line, feeling an inexplicable chill down my spine. "Sorry," I muttered, trying to regain my focus. But the uneasy sensation lingered, prickling at the edges of my mind. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling. My mom chalked it up to audition nerves, but I knew it was more than that. I decided to do some research. If I was going to spend weeks rehearsing in that theater, I needed to know the truth. The school library smelled of old books and faint mildew, but I loved it. I started with the obvious, archived newspapers. It didn't take long to find the article. Tragedy at Cherrywood High. Student killed during performance. The picture of Lily made my chest tighten. She was only 16 with bright eyes and a smile full of life. The article described the incident as an accident. She had fallen during a complicated scene involving the upper platform. But something about the details felt off. A week later, the strange occurrences began. I stayed late after school to practice my lines. The auditorium was empty, or so I thought. As I rehearsed, a faint noise echoed through the space. It sounded like distant humming. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but it grew louder, forming an eerie melody that sent shivers down my spine. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling slightly. No answer. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. A shadow moved across the stage, a fleeting figure that vanished as quickly as it appeared. My breath hitched, and I felt rooted to the spot. I wasn't alone. The journal was a fluke discovery. I had gone to the janitor's closet to return some forgotten props, and something shiny caught my eye behind a pile of old costumes. It was a small leather-bound book, its edges worn with age. The first page revealed the owner, Lily Anderson. Curiosity overpowered my fear, and I began to read. Lily's entry started off normal. Notes about rehearsals, friends, and her excitement for the play. But as I flipped through, the tone darkened. She wrote about tension among the cast, particularly with a fellow student named Clara. "She's furious that I got the lead," one entry read. "She says I don't deserve it. I don't trust her." The final entry made my blood run cold. "If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident." My hands shook as I closed the journal. Lily had been scared. And Clara? She had been angry. Too angry. I couldn't let it go. I searched for yearbooks from Lily's time and found Clara's photo. My heart raced when I recognized her face. She wasn't just a name in an old journal. She was now Mrs. Winslow, my drama teacher. The humming grew louder during rehearsals, and props began to fall inexplicably. One day, a light fixture crashed onto stage, narrowly missing another student. Panic spread to the cast, but Mrs. Winslow brushed it off as a technical issue. I knew better. That night, Lily came to me. I had stayed late in the auditorium, reading through the journal again. The temperature plummeted, and the air grew thick. When I looked up, she was there, her ghostly form pale and flickering like a candle in the wind. "Justice," she whispered, her voice echoing unnaturally. Her eyes, filled with anguish, bore into mine. "I'll help you," I stammered, though my legs felt like jelly. "I promise." The confrontation with Mrs. Winslow was the hardest thing I'd ever done. I cornered her after rehearsal, armed with Lily's journal. She tried to deny it first, but the truth spilled out like a dam breaking. She had been jealous, angry that Lily got the role she wanted. She didn't mean for Lily to die. She had just pushed her in a moment of rage. "But it was an accident," she cried, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean for her to fall like that." The look in Lily's ghostly eyes told me otherwise. The school administration couldn't ignore the evidence. Mrs. Winslow resigned the next day, and word spread quickly. Some students believed me. Others thought it was just another ghost story. But I knew the truth. The night after Mrs. Winslow left, I returned to the stage one last time. The air was still, and the lights no longer flickered. Lily appeared again, but this time her expression was calm. "Thank you," she said softly. Before I could reply, she faded away, her form dissolving into the golden glow of the stage lights. I stood there for a long time, my heart heavy yet strangely at peace. Lily's spirit was finally free, her story no longer a forgotten tragedy. Now, every time I step onto a stage, I think of her, the girl who just wanted to shine, and I make sure to honor her memory, knowing that even in death, her story had the power to change lives.